Hello, members, subscribers, and guests of the channel. My name is Yuri, and today is Saturday, June 25th, and we have a big topic of discussion today. That is why men don't want to get married anymore. Boy, oh boy, this had to come down to this. A lot of talk about this on YouTube. It's a big issue nowadays, big issue, and hopefully we can uncover some of that today. Be sure to smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Be sure to hit the bell to receive all the notifications for future videos and live talks. Please give me a favor, comment your thoughts. Leave a comment in the live chat. Let me know how you feel about this and what's being discussed, and share some of your experiences. I am experiencing, speaking of my own experiences, I am experiencing some issues with battery apparently. So if for some reason I am going to drop off unexpectedly, just know that it's not because I want to, but because apparently my battery is just saying 10%. So I got to figure out if it's my laptop or if it's my charger or what the issue is. FYI. Let's see who we have in the house today. Looks like we have Sam. Thank you for being here. We have Latanya. Hello. We have V, and we have Heather. Remember, in order for me to see your comments or see who is here, you got to leave a comment in the chat. All right. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos, particularly men sharing their thoughts on the matter, on the topic of discussion today. And they were saying the reasoning. They were sharing why they don't want to get married anymore. And there was a lot of information that there were a lot of pain because some of them were divorced men, and there was a lot of thought-provoking things that they shared. And some of these things I'm going to share with you today as well. So based on some of these videos and some of their thoughts, I come up with a list of things that I deem to be the reason why men don't want to get married today. The first one is the question: what men are gaining from marriage? So modern society allowed men, let's be honest here, modern society allowed men to derive same benefits from dating that back in the day were derived from marriage. So really, you know, we can live with the woman nowadays without getting married. We can sleep with the woman without getting married. We can have children even with a woman without getting married. We can still have companionship. We can still have friendship. We can still have experiences. And guess what? We can split the bills. We can do all of those things without tying the knot. So what are we really gaining, right? So that's question number one. Um, because and listen, some of you may say, wait, some of you may say, well, that doesn't sound like a good deal to be in the predicament where you have children with someone you're not married to. I would agree. I don't think it's a good look. Nonetheless, it's still happening because there are plenty of parents out there who continue to be boyfriend and girlfriends. That's just a fact. And then on top of that, the tax breaks and low insurance rates are just not good enough reasons anymore. It's not. So when you start, you know, putting all these things together, you start reviewing it, all of these factors from a really logical standpoint, you have to ask the question. You have to ask what men are really gaining from a marriage, because it seems to me that all the benefits or majority of the benefits that marriage offers can be derived or can be obtained in a regular relationship without getting married. Let's see who else we have today. Zich or Ziche. Hopefully I'm not butchering it. Thank you for being here. Dia, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Liz Wright, hello. Keep those comments going. So first question, what men are gaining from marriage? And I do believe that a lot of benefits, as I mentioned, that we're getting out of marriage can be obtained without getting married. The next thing that we need to talk about is high risk, because most divorces are initiated by women, statistically speaking. Most child custody cases are won by women. Man loses 50% or more of his earnings in alimony and child support when divorces happen. And let's also be honest, women are incentivized financially by the state to divorce their husbands. And how does that happen? Well, there if you know that you can benefit financially from divorcing your husband, some women do it. This is not hypothetical. This is not anecdotal. There are people online who's making videos and talking about I'm gonna leave his bread. No, what did this woman say? Oh, I'm so sick of his dumbass. I'm gonna divorce him and take half of his shit. That's literally the quote that I heard a woman say. She's not alone. She's not alone. She can't be alone anymore. There are a number of women who approach marriages not not as a journey, but to mean as a mean to an end. Oh, I'm gonna marry him, and if I'm not happy, I'm just gonna bounce and I'm gonna take half of his shit. It's an easy way out. Let's face it. And listen, we can have a conversation, lengthy conversation about how the society is structured right now and what state does in order to incentivize women. But that's just that's not. It's no longer, you know, we can talk about opinions, but if the numbers back up that information, then we have to pay attention to that. And numbers do back up that information, because when divorces happen, women are greatly benefiting financially. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases they do. And so if you are benefiting financially, of course you're going to consider it. And this is where men really paying attention nowadays. Men are becoming a lot more aware of what's going on and how some people take advantage of the system. Because let's face it, there are a number of divorces that happen because people did not want to put in enough work, because they wanted to easy way out. And when somebody's showing you a dollar bill and tell you you can exit this marriage and you can get rewarded financially for exiting this marriage, of course some people are going to take advantage of it. Let's look at some comments. Sam said, people have unrealistic expectations of marriage. People expect romance all the time rather than partnership. This is a important one, because if some of you pay attention to the thumbnail of this live talk, it was before and after shot. Obviously, it's not necessarily the same. I can't guarantee that it's the same couple, but the principle, the concept of what I was trying to relay is, look how things are looking. Look how things are looking. Pay attention how picture looks in the beginning of a relationship while people dating, and how picture looks after the fact when people been together for a while or when people were married for a while. On the one before picture, people are hanging out and having a good time at sunset. They facing each other, they lock their eyes, they going for a kiss. Is this romantic scene that's going on? And just by looking at this, you can say, oh my God, what a beautiful thing that is. It's two people come together as one in some sort of union, whether it be relationship or marriage. They are in this magical moment when the sun is setting in the background. They are embracing each other in a hug. This is a happy story. This looks unbelievable. You don't even need to know anything else. You're just looking in this picture and you probably saying to yourself, I want this. And then right next to it, there's a picture of a couple facing each other, pointing finger at each other, slightly more distant, literally speaking and figuratively speaking, right? Not figuratively, psychologically, I guess, speaking. The distance not a lot further away, but mentally, I bet you they a lot further away, right? So they're pointing fingers at each other. Their facial expression suggests that they're arguing, and this could be a picture a few months later or even few years later. So what happened? How can you go from a happy picture at sunset to a miserable picture of them arguing together and pointing fingers at each other? Literally pointing fingers at each other. This is the thumbnail of the video. This is I did it for a reason. This is a telling sign of the journey of a relationship and marriage and how it can go from this beautiful picture, happy picture, to this miserable type of circumstance. Yvonne said, you have to enter marriage like divorce. It's not an option, or it will be hard to make it work. You have to enter marriage like divorce. So I suppose you're talking about like take it very seriously and approach it in a different fashion. I tend to think that some of it has to do with, well, a few things really. Not willing to keep the romance alive, not having clearly defined goals together, and very solid commitment to these goals together. Because the marriage itself, it's an interesting thing, right? Because for some reason, when people get married, they start act differently. They start acting as if they are entitled to another person. They start acting like the work has been done. It's like they won the lottery, right? It's this type of attitude. I got him. I got her. I don't need to do much work anymore. We've arrived. But that's really not the case. It's not the case. It just means that that person, your partner, is willing to be with you, with the version of you that he met before. How many people talk about that? You realize that, right? He is telling yes. He's saying yes to the person that he met, that he's been with, not to the person that you will become, not to the grouchy person who is complaining about trash not being taken out. By the way, there, eh, there's a way to communicate. We've done plenty of videos. I've done plenty of videos, but community helped me with those videos. Talked about communication and how to avoid issues. There's nothing wrong with asking your man to take the trash out, but there is a particular way how you should go about it. And if you haven't watched the videos where we talked about the book reviews, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, I highly recommend for you to go back and watch some of these videos, because this is like communication 101 class for the couples. V said, yes, women benefit from divorce, especially if there are children. Her friends will also be in her ear if she complains to them about what he does not do in the marriage. Oh my gosh, you hit the nail on the head right there, V. I'm going to actually reverse it and start with the friends. You have to be very careful, ladies. You're going to want, so here's the problem. You're going to go and vent to your girlfriend about your marriage, a person who you know is going to take your side. That's probably part of the reason why you go to her, right? You know she's going to take your side. which is she's your friend. She's supposed to. But the problem is that the unsolicited advice or solicited advice that she's going to give you is not always going to be a good one. She can do more harm than good because what do your girlfriends usually say? Oh, his stupid ass doesn't know anything. Oh, if he doesn't change, you can just leave his girl. You deserve so much more, girl. But wait, she's not living in your situation. She's not with that man. Is she single? You should be asking that question first and foremost because if she's single, how in the world are you going to take advice from a person who is not married? If you're a married person and then she's going to give you advice about marriage, well, don't you supposed to think at least a little bit who you take the advice from? Are you going to be going to a doctor, asking to lose weight if the doctor is overweight? If not, you shouldn't be taking a marriage advice from a single girlfriend, or at least you should really think hard about what she's telling you. Now, it's not to say that she can have value. Of course she can have value, but she also can be biased based on her experiences. It's really difficult to be unbiased about these things. So is she telling you something based on her experiences, right? Or if she's more taking an approach of asking questions and try to help you. So you got to be very careful who you take the advice from. And then children, oh my God, children, my friends. I don't like to talk about it, but there's number of women that using children in divorce courts in divorce court as a weapon to get their way. And that's just terrible. Cynthia said, why buy the cow when you can milk it for free? I suppose you are talking about uncommitted, not marital relationships. Yvonne said, like, if you have the option in your mind that you can divorce if things go badly, then that is what you will revert to if there are troubles. And there will always be trouble. Yeah. I'm sure there's so many couples and so many women, let's call it as is, that look at marriage as kind of like an option. It's not the goal. Or perhaps maybe it was goal when you didn't have ring, but once you have a ring, you treat it like something that nice to have, but unnecessary, not mandatory. Cynthia said, women don't benefit from divorce even with children. I am paying child support for life because my ex is an evil liar. It's always the best liar who wins. Now, this could be the case, and I'm sorry that you're going through that, but that's not the majority. So when we talk about these things, we got to be very precise about the data. And the data says otherwise. The data says that majority of women actually who divorce their husbands um, end up end up with child support, they end up benefiting. So, Cynthia, you can be, or you are, based on the data, is an outlier. Yvonne, however, the arguments that people have can either tear them apart or bring them together. It depends on whether both sides are willing to listen, no matter how angry they get or how much you disagree. Yes, we're coming back to the communication uh, conversation and how people should communicate. So this is definitely a big one. Okay, so far we talked about two things. So far we addressed what men are gaining from marriage. That was the question number one. And then the second thing we discussed was high risk. Now, third thing that we got to address is double standards. Because let's be honest here, men are expected to provide, protect, and support the family. And I think there has been a shift with how women approach it because women are no longer interested to be a traditional woman in a lot of cases. Women wants to be modern women, but she also wants to have a traditional man. Let me know if you agree with that in your comments. Um, so a lot of women, they want a traditional man. They still want a man who will provide, who will support, who will take care of monetary things, who will, take care of the house, all these different things. Be father, be present father. Um, but then, and that's the traditional roles that we're talking about. These are traditional things. But then they will turn around and they wouldn't want to be a traditional woman. A traditional woman who also will be catering to her family, right? Traditional woman who will be catering to her children. Traditional woman who will be catering as to her wife duties, whatever that they decide to be. And by the way, wife duties also could be discussed between the people. I don't insist that they always have to be the same way, but they have to be discussed. So we're in a predicament where we have a disconnect. We have these double standards that where a lot of women expect men to be traditional, but they want to go a different route. And then of course we have to talk about stress. So stress is a big factor as to why men don't want to get married anymore. And stress comes in many different forms because let's be honest again, men and women operate differently in terms of how we approach things. Women a lot of times operate based on their feelings. And sometimes the feelings impact the marriage. Because think of this conversation. Have you ever heard or or maybe you even were in a situation where you told your man or your husband or your ex-husband, I feel like I'm not getting this anymore. Or not even that. I think that's not even that bad. The worst part is when women says, I feel like I don't have feelings for you anymore, or I feel like I don't love you anymore. These are like, where do you go from those type of comments if you're a man? There's not much you can do. Or to previous Val's point, when she was talking about talking with your friends or taking advice from other women, you know, you can have a conversation when you're with your man when you will say things like, "Yeah, I feel like you're not giving me what I need anymore." And for man, as a man, when I hear that, that's extremely vague message for me. What does it mean? What does it mean exactly? Can you tell me more specifics of what it is that you're missing? Am I not taking the trash out? Am I not taking you on dates consistently? Am I not intently listening to you on a regular basis? When you talk to us, to guys, we need specific information. The more direct you are, the better. And when you tell us that I feel like I'm not getting what I needed in the relationship, that doesn't mean anything to me. I have no idea what you mean. What exactly are you talking about? And so when the reason I am specifically talk about stress, because when I, as a man, don't know what are you talking about, I have no idea what are you referring to exactly. That creates an immense amount of stress for me because that means that I'm doing something wrong. You made me aware that I'm doing something wrong, but I have no idea what exactly I'm doing wrong. So it's really difficult for me to fix. And so the continuous conversations about it back and forth, it just adds to the amounts of stress because men are fixers. We got to be able to fix things. And in order to fix things, we got to know what it is that we need to fix. And another thing, ladies, let's be honest here again. Women reserve the right to change their mind about the marriage. We talked about the data. Majority of divorces, somewhere like in the neighborhood of 70% of divorces initiated by women nowadays. So what does it tell you? That means that, you know, women are the ones more often that going for divorces, and men know that. But it's not to just blame women and say, oh my gosh, women, only want divorces, this and that. Wh- you have to think a step ahead. If we know that 70% of women initiating divorces, then men know that what's coming next is terrible for them. Financially speaking, it's terrible. It's breaking the family apart. Obviously, it's going to create some other turmoil in their life, like what to do with the living situation. It's a lot of stuff to deal with as a man. It's a lot of stress. It comes down to stress. Let's look at some comments. V, I agree with that. In modern society, women are pushed towards more masculine jobs to be the breadwinner and are sneered at or thought of as lesser if they would prefer a housewife role. Yvonne said, "Can't have it both ways. You are a team. It's not about just you anymore. You both are to be working towards a common goal." Housewives are the true heroes of the world. They are unusing heroes. Unsung. They are unsung heroes. Listen, we're living in the world in the West right now where housewives being demonized. And housewives are unsung heroes because they build the families. They were the foundations of the families, right? So husband would bring home something, wife would build the home. I don't mean in the you know in the literal sense build it, but in the sense that she ensured that home was taken care of, that family was taken care of. She was the glue that held it all together. And right now we're living in a world where this is demonized. You know, I'm all for empowering women, but I'm also for being honest about each other's roles in the marriage. And it doesn't mean it has to be a traditional role, but there has to be a role. You can't just go in there and say, like, oh, we're going to do our own thing and we see if it's going to work. No, no, no. We need to clearly define what my role is going to be and what your role is going to be in the marriage. We are a team, as you mentioned, Yvonne. So, in the team, in order for things to work, you have to implement teamwork. In order to implement teamwork, you have to know what person in the team is going to be responsible for what type of function within that team. Sam, the cost of living is so high now, both husband and wife have to work just to pay the bills. But perhaps that's the case. It's not to say I agree with you. The cost of living is extremely high right now. And I'm not even telling you that the wife should be a homestay mom. That is completely up to the family. It's however you figure these things out. However, there are also situations where a wife earning more money. So does it mean that the husband is going to be a homestead stay dad? There are plenty of cases where man is a breadwinner who is making a lot of money. Does it mean that can wife stay home in those cases? In the cases where both husband and wife have to work, yet again the question is, what is the distinction of the not distinction? What's the breakdown of the duties? Did you figure it out? It has to be clearly defined. And yes, we're living in a world where things are going to continue to increase in cost. And we're living in a world where if you're not careful, you can be tricked in a situation where state will try to incentivize you to be single because guess what? Single people spend more, particularly women. Single women spend more money than married women. So yet again, we talk about this. It's a full circle yet again. Somebody's benefiting from you ladies being single. And guess what? If somebody's benefiting from you ladies being single, guess what kind of marketing you're going to get? Guess what kind of messaging that you're going to hear all the time? Guess what you're going to be encouraged to do? You're going to be encouraged to do a powerful single woman, power lady, career lady, which is fine. If this is what you really want, do it. Just give me a favor. Once it's all said and done, you please don't complain. Please don't complain. Right now, all of us in the situation where we have the resources, informational resources, that is, to educate ourselves and to understand what's going on. And if I'm seeing, based on numbers, that single ladies being encouraged to be single because somebody is benefiting from it, then you have a decision to make. It doesn't mean that you have to get married, but what I'm saying by decision is that we have to really pay attention or why it's happening, who's benefiting, and what do you decide to do with that information. Yvonne said, true, Sam. That's why I always work. I would have rather stayed home. I would have preferred to stay there. But if we were ever to be able to retire comfortably, I had to work. DM said, I was thinking perhaps with the high inflation, we will see a reversal and more men and women will want to live together, get married, etc. We might have to. We might have to just to survive. But yet again, does that mean that we need to get married? And a lot of men, like coming back to the original topic of the conversation, why men don't want to get married anymore? Because we can do a lot of these things without putting putting ring on your finger because of inherent risk. We can still do all of these things, help each other out, make sure that we can pay bills, make sure we can live together without getting married. And this is the reality of the situation. And I know that for a lot of women, it's very difficult pill to swallow. But this is the monster that our society created right now. Our society created a narrative that marriage just isn't a great deal for men anymore. Because before we get out of here, I want to know from you. I want you to leave a comment and let me know, why do you think men should get married? What it is that they can obtain in marriage that they cannot obtain in dating or long-term relationship. So this is the question for my audience. This is going to be the last thing that we talk about before we get out of here. I need everyone who is watching live to answer this question. I would greatly appreciate that to wrap up this discussion. What man can gain from marriage that they cannot obtain in the relationship or in dating? Go. Latanya said, yeah, my friends always made fun of me because I was supposed to just stupid and weak. Don't say that, Latanya. We about empowerment here. Now I'm trying to get my head above water after 25 plus years of marriage and I'm lost. Well, listen, the fact that you are watching the videos, that you're trying to get the information, that you're engaging with other people, the fact that you are reaching for knowledge, this is already super, super great. This could be first step. So I want to encourage you to keep going with that and keep working on yourself. Keep working on self-improvement. DM, without marriage, a relationship is too unstable. If women don't settle for just partnership, men will have to get married. So do you think that a long-term relationship is too unstable? Do you think that marriage is stable enough? The other words, because I mean, there seem to be at US, at least in US, between what 50 to 60% divorce rate, and that's not to mention people who living miserable lives being married. You saying that if women don't settle for just partnership, men will have to get married. Well, that's the thing. Men getting to a point where they feel that they don't have to get married. That's the whole premise of this. There are inheritance tax incentives for surviving spouse. Are you being are you being serious? Is that you using this as a reason to get married? Meaning that if husband goes away, you're going to get a good tax break? Is that what we're talking about, Sam? Life and money matters. Men benefit more than women most of the time if they have a happy marriage because they get that security, emotional support, help with the majority of housework, regular, much safer sex, and a true friend and a companion. I hate to break it down for you, life and money matters, but most of these things we can get without being married. I know you probably hate to hear that, but security is no longer exist in the marriage. It just doesn't, because anyone has a, a right to divorce you at any point of time. Emotional support you can get from a long distance relationship. Help with majority of housework. We're not sweating that. A man who, I mean, what kind of man in their right mind would marry someone because of housework? That's a sucker. That's my opinion. But we can clean our own shit. Regular, much safer sex. Safer potentially. That's an assumption that nobody goes to the side. But yes, but also you can have regular sex when you're single. You can date someone and have a regular sex. Absolutely. Um, but so I would I would disagree with you. I don't think that men benefit more than women most of the time from marriage. I don't. I really don't. Your wife can keep the doctors from pulling the plug. Your girlfriends can't. Uh, are we talking about that now that husband we're gonna be on the deathbed and that's the reason to get married so wife can save him? Please explain. Also, research shows that men benefit health and emotionally wise from marriage. Would love to would love to see more data on that. I read 15% of men say they have zero close friends, compared with most women having that already, and emotional support with or without a man. Married men also live a lot longer than single men. Now that could be a reason. That could definitely be a reason because we want to hang out here a little bit longer. Sam said a good marriage can be joyful. You are settled, committed to each other, respected by the wider family and community. Yes, absolutely. It could be joyful. Uh, you could feel as if you found your person, you're settled. Commitment, absolutely. That should be commitment, which is an interesting thing, right? Because commitment, does it come from a ring? I was thinking about it. It was as I was vacuuming the floor. I was like, is marriage is marriage itself is an act of commitment? Does ring is an act of commitment? Are people living together and giving themselves different promises is an act of commitment? Because marriage is certainly one thing that is hard to deny. Marriage is an act of commitment. But which one of those things, I mean, maybe it's a combination of all those things, right? It's the vows, it's the ring, is the shared household. Obviously, when you have children, that's a whole different level. But But are people can people be committed to each other without being married? That's my question. Because some people live that way. They continue to live a life of committed relationship without marriage. And some people don't want to get married. So how do they make that work? So what I'm getting at, you can give a promise to another person that is not going to be binded by state. It's not going to be maybe binded by church, binded by God. I understand that this is a whole different discussion here, because for a lot of people, the union that is binded by God, it's sacred. I get that. But also not everybody believe in God, and not everybody believe in in being married that way, or giving promises to each other that way. And if we are, so the question that I have is that if marriage indeed a promise of commitment, why people not upholding their commitments? Why people start trying less in marriage? Why people start not paying attention to each other as much when they married? And that's an important question. It's not a just philosophical question. You have to really think about it deeply, right? If the marriage is a promise of commitment, why people not upholding the commitment? Does it mean that marriage may be not as strong of promise of commitment as it seems to be? That's what I'm getting at. That's really the core of what we talk about. So Sam, I'm glad you brought it up, because this is an important question. If marriage is supposed to be that, if marriage is supposed to be all these things, but it doesn't end up manifesting in those things, in those actions that people just you end up not taking over time, whether it be 5 months, whether it be 3 years, whether it be 5 years, whether it be 8 years or 15 or 20 years, but they not upholding these promises anymore. That commitment I'm talking about. And we see that through data. And it becomes different when you have men questioning. I'm sure women as well, but we talk about specifically about why men don't want to get married today. V said your wife cannot testify against you in a court of law. Uh all right, I guess. I never thought of that one, but I'm still listen, I appreciate all of these. All of these are great because it definitely makes me aware of some of the things that I wasn't. DM, yeah, I think the challenges are they're just the same. What I think happens is stakes are too high when divorce is on the table. It's expensive, time consuming, so men and women may be more inclined. Yes, stakes are higher, but if you unhappy, if you miserable in that marriage of yours, you're going to go for a divorce. You're going to do it. Now, some people don't, but some people, excuse me, you're going to stay in the miserable circumstance for the rest of your life. No, thank you. So a lot of people re- reserve for divorce because they just not willing to go through that miserable life. And so they are willing, to your point, DM, they're willing to have an expensive divorce that is time consuming, that is stressful, with all these disadvantages, just to be out of this relationship because you have one life. Commitment to support one another in any circumstance. Commitments to love. Thank you. Yvonne, biblically, marriage provides a covenant with God that doesn't exist outside of it. That is the Christian view. Life and money matters. Yeah, the data shows married men are more likely to receive regular checkups and medical care, maintain healthy diets, exercise, and enjoy higher standards of living. Gotcha. Yeah, wife is probably push man to go to the doctor. I can see that because we're not going to move unless we're not going to go unless something terrible happens. Deborah, God instituted marriage for people to be happy in godly committed partnership. Otherwise, you are living in a sin and going against God's will. Ooh, my friends, I don't know if I should open this can of worms, but maybe I should. I my thing with this is people like the idea of godly committed partnership, but godly committed partnership, in my opinion, is living by principles of God. Giving somebody a ring and then a couple years later is not putting in work, which what happens in a lot of marriages, is, in my opinion, is not godly committed partnership. It's a facade. So when we talk about this, it's how you live your life. It's not one act of being married to someone. That's to me worshiping God, living by these principles. So the marriage alone, the act of being married, is seem to be incomplete if we talking about godly committed partnership. Is the action behind it on the daily. V. Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell treat their life together like a marriage without the paperwork. Yvonne, marriage really is you saying, I take this person in front of God and everyone else. There is power in that. There is accountability there. Becky, people can definitely be committed without being married. Other people live that way and avoid marriage for legal or money reasons. DM, people get lazy in marriage. It's like aim accomplished, they lay back. Deborah, eventually everyone will know that God is real. Becky, marriage is a commitment to more than love. You inherit someone's debt as well, and it's a big legal gamble. DM, everything surrounding marriage is questioned nowadays. In the old days, a lot of what we now question was taken for granted, even tolerated for better or worse. That includes infidelity. V, marriage is the ultimate commitment. Somewhere along the somewhere along line until death do you part was removed from wedding vows. So people see it as I can leave when things get tough. Nothing worth having it easy. Oh, so the until death do our part was removed from wedding vows. When did that happen? Was there a law or is it subjective things that people do? It can't be a law, right? Government can't tell us how to get married, or can they? Marriage lost something. Over time, marriage lost something. I don't know if I can find the right words to explain it, but I do agree with V that it is, people can see it as I can leave when things get tough. The institution of it is just isn't the same as it has been before. The value of family here in the United States is, I'm primarily referring to sort of younger generation and what I'm seeing happening right now with younger to mid-age folks. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of individual freedom that takes precedent. It's more important to be happy. The message is in the Western, predominantly in the USA society, is more important to be happy and to take care of yourself than sacrifice for your marriage. That's what it seems to me. And I think that it doesn't help the cause. It puts me first type of attitude in the marriage setting. And as I stated before, marriage is not about you anymore. Marriage is about the union. It is unfortunate, ladies, but a lot of men are very careful and even cautious, I would say, about getting married. And I don't think it's, unless something changed very dramatically in the near future, um, I don't think it's going to change, because it is not only the state, it is also messaging and narrative that happens even among women. Many women, not all women, of course, but many women that treat the marriage as a way to improve her quality of life. It's not being treated as until death do you part, or does us part. It's treated as I have a plan B to fall on. All right. Great discussion, yo. Yvonne, people choose to omit words like obey, etc., because that makes them uncomfortable. That is part of the problem. DM, folks, I think we have been conned. Freedom and selfishness at the expense of a deep and long, earnest relationship with another human being, a chance to grow and experience the self and something transcendental lost. The only way to go into godly marriage is be living a godly life in the first place. Same for your husband. Be equally yoked. Great discussion today. Thank you so much to every single one of you. Next week, we're going to talk on Sunday. It's going to be back to Sunday. July. Whoa, this July 4th weekend coming up. That's gonna make things a bit complicated, because maybe I will be out of town. So let's actually keep it Saturday, July 2nd. And we'll try to do it same time. Saturday, July 2nd at 11 a.m. It was 12 a.m. Eastern. So let's just do the same thing. 12 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, July 2nd. I need to thank every single one of you for engaging in this awesome topic. Not an easy topic to talk about. DM, thank you for being here and engaging. Sam, thank you for being here. By the way, shout out to all my awesome members. We have so many members in the house. We have Daphne, we have Sam, we have Yvonne, we have, I've seen Heather in here. We have V, we have Becky, we have Heather, we have Dia was here earlier. So many amazing. Oh, Joanna is here. Shout out to all the members. Latanya was here. Appreciate you very, very much. And I value immensely You are so amazing. You are foundation of this community, I would say, interacting with each other, with me on a daily basis. Keep me grounded and keep inspiring me, allowing me, um, or not just allowing me, blessing me with your thought provoking comments and feedback. So I appreciate every single one of you. So thank you everyone for joining. In addition to all the awesome members that we had today, we had Deborah. We have, you told me how to pronounce your name, but I don't want to. I don't want to butcher it. So thank you for being here, Miss Reese. Is it Miss Reese? Um, who else we had? Vladimir. Thank you for stopping by. Silver Steak 7878. Thank you for stopping by. Cynthia, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you very, very much. Dia, shout out to another member. Thank you for stopping by. Zicha was here earlier. Liz, thank you for stopping by. My friends, this was awesome. I wish you an amazing rest of your weekend. I appreciate every single one of you. If you not on Discord, consider joining Discord server of mine, Peace Prototype, where you can engage with a lot of awesome people. If you're not a member, consider becoming a member and interact directly with other members when we talk about just about everything. Talk about life, talk about relationships, we talk about sex, we talk about you name it. Um, it's a very casual conversation. So I really, really appreciate every single one of you. Have an amazing rest of your day and stay in touch on Instagram, stay in touch on YouTube. I will be seeing you soon. Much love and peace.